Will Iran step back from the emerging agreement with USA after Trump's latest comments regarding the deal? As Iran's leadership re-examines every line of the draft memorandum, Trump has raised tensions by dropping a thinly veiled war hint from France.
No, it's not final. It's a memorandum of understanding, and if I don't like it, we'll go back to shooting at them, dropping bombs on their head.
Trump's insistence that the deal is not final came just as American media began publishing what they claimed was the full text of the memorandum. IRGC-linked outlets in Tehran quickly pushed back, dismissing the U.S. reports as significantly incomplete. On June 17th, an IRGC-affiliated news agency published a major update, laying out Tehran's view of where the talks stand and what still needs to be decided before any signature in Geneva. According to Fars News, Iran's negotiating team is still in the middle of internal discussions over the U.S. memorandum, examining its clauses line by line rather than treating it as a done deal. Outlets like Iran International echoed that assessment, saying no final decision has been taken on the agreement and that Tehran's political leadership has yet to give a definitive yes or no. Fars reported that consultations are underway at multiple levels of the Iranian system, from the negotiators to senior clerical and security bodies, and that a formal decision on the MOU will be announced only after this process concludes. Importantly, the same report noted that the negotiating team's planned trip to Switzerland has not been cancelled, indicating that Iran is keeping the door open for a signing even as it voices strong reservations. For now, expectations remain that Iran and the U.S. will ink the Memorandum of Understanding on June 19 in Geneva, turning months of back-channel contacts into a formal public agreement if nothing derails it at the last minute. On the American side, Vice President J.D. Vance is slated to attend the ceremony, while Iran is expected to send Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, signaling high-level political backing from both capitals. Yet as the signing day drew closer, Trump dropped his shock line about going back to shooting if he dislikes the final terms, injecting fresh uncertainty into an already fragile process and giving hardliners in Tehran new ammunition.
It's been reported that it includes a $300 billion reconstruction fund funded by Gulf allies. That's false?
It's false. People, you can invest if you want. I mean, what am I going to do, say nobody's ever allowed to invest? No, we're not investing. We're not putting up 10 cents, and people can decide to do that, but that's up to them. I mean, do you want me to say nobody's ever allowed to invest in a country? I'll say it with Egypt. Nobody's allowed to invest in Egypt. Am I supposed to say that?
I'm asking whether...
We are not investing in it, and we do not have a fund. But we are not investing. That's a false story that got picked up incorrectly from a statement that was pretty well made, I think. Maybe a little bit, could have been a little more accurate.
Is the text of the agreement now final, or are you still...
No, it's not final. It's a memorandum of understanding, and if I don't like it, we'll go back to shooting at them, dropping bombs on their head.
When do you expect the wording?
If I don't like it, if they don't behave, we'll go right back to dropping bombs right smack in the middle of their head.
At the same time, U.S. outlets rushed to publish what they claimed was the full text of the memorandum, creating a disconnect between Trump's insistence that nothing is final and the media's portrayal of a finished, detailed agreement. American and Iranian outlets are giving sharply different stories about the draft U.S.-Iran Memorandum of Understanding, especially after purported full text was published. Japan's Tasnim-linked sources say the text that Bloomberg released as the complete 14-point Memorandum of Understanding is not accurate and that its description of all clauses is significantly incomplete. These Iranian sources argue that, by prior agreement, the authentic text of the Memorandum of Understanding will not be made public until it is formally signed, so any full draft now circulating is at best partial. The dispute flared after Bloomberg published what it called the full text of the 14-point draft memorandum between the US and Iran, laying out ceasefire terms, sanctions relief, and follow-on talks. Text released by Bloomberg detailed all 14 articles of the Memorandum of Understanding, claiming, Iran, US agree to an immediate ceasefire across all fronts, including Lebanon. Both sides pledge no future attacks, threats, or hostile action against each other. Tehran and Washington are set to negotiate a final agreement within 60 days. US will lift naval restrictions and restore normal shipping within 30 days. Iran is set to reopen Gulf shipping routes and clear mines to restore traffic. US will back a $300 billion economic reconstruction plan for Iran. Washington will commit to a phased removal of UN and US sanctions on Iran. Iran reaffirms it will never develop or acquire nuclear weapons. Both sides will maintain current nuclear and military status quo during talks. US will allow Iranian oil, petrochemical, and related exports to resume. Frozen Iranian assets are to be released as negotiations advance. A joint oversight mechanism is set to monitor compliance with the final deal. Final talks set to begin after key shipping, sanctions, and fund release steps start. Final US-Iran agreement will be endorsed by a binding UN Security Council resolution. Notably, that same version of the draft text has also been carried by CNN, discussing the US-Iran peace framework, further highlighting the gap between Western and Iranian narratives. Israeli strikes reportedly killed at least 4 people in Lebanon's Nabatea governorate on June 16. According to reports, multiple vehicles were targeted in separate attacks across southern Lebanon. The strikes came despite ongoing efforts to secure a broader regional ceasefire. Hezbollah responded by launching rockets toward Israeli troops operating in southern Lebanon. Israel said several of the incoming rockets were intercepted by its air defense systems. The Israeli military later announced that it had destroyed the launcher used in the attack. The IDF also reported striking a suspicious vehicle near its operating area. According to the military, troops fired warning shots before carrying out an airstrike. The latest exchange marked another escalation along the already volatile Lebanon front. Residents returning to damaged communities say fears of renewed fighting continue to grow. Iran's Khatam al-Anbiya headquarters has issued a fresh warning directed at Israel. The command says Israel should expect a strong response if military operations in Lebanon continue. Iranian officials argue that Lebanon remains a key element of the broader US-Iran understanding. Tehran insists that any lasting agreement must include an end to Israeli operations in Lebanon. Iran says the wording of the proposed agreement leaves no doubt that Lebanon is included in the understanding. Pakistani officials involved in mediation say the deal envisions a halt to fighting across all regional fronts. However, both Israel and the United States have disputed Tehran's interpretation of the agreement. The final text of the memorandum has not yet been made public and remains unsigned. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israeli forces will remain deployed in southern Lebanon. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi argues the conflict cannot be considered over without an Israeli withdrawal. Iranian negotiator Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf has urged Washington to pressure Israel to leave the territory. Reports suggest Hezbollah received assurances that Iran would continue raising the issue during future talks with the United States. The developments come after President Trump publicly criticized Israel's latest attacks on Beirut ahead of the proposed Iran agreement.
Can this deal survive if Israel attacks Lebanon?
It can, and I consider that the minor war. Iran's the big one, but we have that little pinprick out there that constantly rears its head, and that's Hezbollah. And, I was very responsible for Syria, and the man that's running Syria now is a person that I put there along with President Erdogan and some others. He's done an amazing job of pulling it together. He's not a Boy Scout, but he's done an amazing job of pulling it together. And he is very good with Hezbollah, does not like them. And I'll tell you what, Israel's fighting Hezbollah too long, and too many people are being killed. And you don't have to knock down an apartment house every time you're looking for somebody, because there are a lot of people in those apartment houses, and they're not all Hezbollah, that I can tell you. And I suggested to Israel to let Syria take care of Hezbollah. Because to be honest with you, I think they do a better job of doing it. And I didn't like Syria. I didn't like where 2 hours before we're signing the agreement that there was an attack in Lebanon, in Beirut. It was right in. It wasn't like in the southern side, and it was in Beirut. I did not like that. I let them know that. I didn't like it, not at all. But I think that Syria, he's pulled that country together amazingly quickly. He's very capable, and he's been very good for me. He's protected everything that I've asked for. He's done. And if Israel can't do the job, without killing everyone else, he'll do the job. Syria will do the job.
Are you frustrated with Netanyahu, sir?
No, we had a great relationship. We're talking about some end details. I didn't like that he did an attack based on there was a very minor little thing with some drones that were released, and he ends up doing I saw that attack. I saw where that bomb went. Did you see what happened? That was a vicious, that was too much. You can do too much also. But we've had a very effective relationship. Without us, without the United States, there would be no Israel. Without me, there would be no Israel, because no other president was willing to do what I did. I've had a great relationship with Bibi, but now Bibi has to be more responsible with respect to Lebanon. Lebanon used to be a great country. It was a country where you had professors, doctors, lawyers. The great intellect was in Lebanon. Now it's terrible. I would say of all countries, they've been treated the worst. And they can't defend themselves. And they have Hezbollah, which is a problem for them. So, no, I'm not happy with the way Israel has handled themselves with Lebanon and with Hezbollah. They should have been able to do the job faster. It just goes on forever. And when that happens, it throws a negative light on the big deal, and that's the deal with Iran. So when you ask me about Bibi, an unbelievable relationship. But Israel would have been blown up a long time ago had I not gotten